Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast. It is Thursday, September 12th, open date week, and a perfect time to go back to a lengthy conversation we had with Brad Brownell earlier this summer, the longest I can remember having with him in his long tenure at Clemson. We had the full Q&A of this conversation at TigerIllustrated.com. I believe that was back in June, back during the dog days of summer when nothing was going on. A lot different right now, of course. My good friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold have been part of the podcast since the beginning, way back in August of 2018. They have an accomplished team of personal injury attorneys at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, based in Greenville. They are Clemson people, and their skillful attorneys have decades of experience in complicated litigation matters, taking a special interest in medical malpractice, nursing home abuse, and neglect, car accident cases that have left the individuals involved in serious trouble. For a free consultation at Parham, Smith, and Archenhold, call 864-990-4581 or online at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. Celero Communications, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Celero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Celero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Celero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Celero at celerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. When you're ready for a complete renovation in your home or business, open the door to more with Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Their local experienced team will totally transform any room space, from beautiful floor coverings to construction to finished details. Harris handles every step of your renovation process, whether it's a kitchen or living room or an industrial or educational setting, like some of the positively stunning work they've done at Clemson University. Go to discoverharris.com and experience a total renovation transformation from Harris Home and Harris Commercial. Okay, we're going to separate this into two installments. The next will come next week. But here we go with the first hour plus of our conversation with Brad Brownell. Really enjoyed this, and I think you will too. Here we go. All right, joined by Brad Brownell. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Thank you.
We were just talking before I hit record, and normally we have our visits earlier in the year, or I guess traditionally we do, but of late, this ain't the traditional model of things. Yeah. Can you just reflect on, the last couple of months? You were just able to take your first time off, last week, and here we are. Just curious to get your read on the big picture of things.
Well, big picture is great. Certainly exciting time for Clemson basketball. Was an unbelievable run this spring. Just really proud of my players and our team, and happy for our fan base, and man, it was just a great couple of weeks, and we played some outstanding basketball, and it was just a great ride. You just kind of put your head down and go, and I've told our team several times during the year that I thought we had the potential to be Final Four good, and obviously we at times played like that, and at other times we didn't, which is a little bit of how basketball works. There's probably 25 teams at least that could have made the Final Four. And we just ended up a game short of where we hoped to get. But again, the game we lost, I thought we played very well. Just Alabama made more shots and kind of pulled away from us there at the end. But it's crazy. A lot of people have asked me, have you had a chance to reflect on it or enjoy it? And up until last week, when I took about 5 days off, the answer was no. It's just, there's just so much that goes on right now this time of year with college basketball in terms of roster management, dealing with your team, recruiting more guys to take the place of the guys you're losing, retention of players. You do all that, and that takes a lot of time. And, and then the other thing is obviously you're still recruiting high school seniors, and so you're spending some time doing stuff with that. We've done a good job there, I think, and then you just got I think it was not the old Prowl and Growl, which is the new Clemson Road Show that we had our 5 visits there or whatever throughout the state, ACC meetings, getting ready for camp. I mean, there's just so much stuff going on that you never kind of get to relax and take a breath. But those are all good things. So, it's been a great spring. It's been fun. I got to take a little vacation last week. And then our new players came in this weekend. And so we've started our 8 weeks of work today. So, it's kind of on to next year.
So let's say 8 years ago, your off season, how different, I mean, what did it look like then? Like you took 5 days off last week. Like how much?
Yeah, it would not have been much different in terms of taking days off. It was, part of the reason we did that 5 days off was it was my 30th wedding anniversary. And so my wife and another couple that we're close with, it was their 30th anniversary. And so we went on a trip together for 20 years. And the wives I guess I shouldn't admit that it was just the wives who orchestrated it, but they spearheaded it. And I just said yes a lot and kind of looked up, and it was, I told them I can't do anything until the earliest I could possibly do anything would be after Memorial Day. And so that's kind of how it all came about. And so 8 years ago, that would have been very similar. One change is in April, we used to have 2 recruiting weekends for seniors for AAU. That got pushed to 1 weekend in May this year. So that was actually an advantage. And part of that was just, to help coaches deal with this new roster management situation that we're all dealing with. The portal basically is what we're talking about, and how it pushes everything, later. And you're probably not signing as many high school players anymore in basketball as you used to. And so you're adding more portal guys, not every year, but most years. And so that means you're going to be doing more recruiting at the end of your season. And it's, obviously it's intense, because everything happens and moves so much faster that in recruiting in those couple of months. And so you're just full bore, head down for, most of those days.
Where did y'all go? Congratulations, by the way, on 30 years.
Yeah, thank you. We went to Sea Island and spent 3 days there, 3.5 days there, whatever it was. And then we went down to Palmetto Bluff for a couple days. I have a daughter that has taught down there and is teaching down there. And so we use it as a way to see her a little bit as well.
Play any golf?
I did play 2 rounds of golf.
I'm not going to ask you.
79-82.
Yeah, I was not going to ask you because it was going to make me sick hearing that you.
Yeah, well, my game is. I used to be better. I'm still serviceable, but I haven't gotten to play as much or whatnot. And my short game is inconsistent. So
my questions are going to kind of be all over the place here, but just something that just popped into my head. After you beat Arizona, can you take me, not a minute by minute, but what is fascinating is that while everybody on the outside is marveling and celebrating and talking about, wow, what a story, what a game, everybody but the staff is spending the next however many hours, days, just sort of basking in the accomplishment. You guys have to go straight to work. I think it'd be really enlightening for people to hear just your most precise recollection of, okay, you walk out of you go hop on the buses after that game in LA, you get back to the hotel, and then what?
Yeah. It even starts the week before, right? When you win games against New Mexico and Baylor to go to the Sweet 16, man, big time accomplishment. I mean, only been done at the school 5 times maybe. And, hard to do, I think, just, at any school, and, but I guess the sad part of it, I don't know if it's sad, but, at the end of the day, and I saw video, I'm not on Twitter or any of that, X, I guess, or whatnot. I don't get on any of that stuff. But people show me things, right? And obviously just like showing the bars at Clemson and Little John where our students were, people celebrating, that's what I hate that we don't get to do that. One of the great things about baseball, and I wasn't at the regionals, but man, for our baseball team to win at home in front of our fans and, to be able to run out into the stands and for Eric to be able to jump up into the stands and celebrate with your fan base, that's just an unbelievable setting. Basketball doesn't work that way. We're on neutral courts, right? We're out in the middle of wherever. And it's funny because it was such a big win to go to the Elite Eight. When we beat Arizona, I remember we all kind of went over towards our fan base, over there in LA. And obviously it was primarily an Arizona crowd. And so just to kind of go celebrate with your fans, we couldn't get up into the stands, but we sang the alma mater, and literally one of the security guys was right next to me trying to push us off the court. And I said, hey man, we just made the Elite Eight. We ain't leaving. We're not moving. So, and I know there's, it's going to take us 30 extra seconds or a minute or whatever it is, but we're going to do this. And so I say all that stuff because those are the things that you remember, the hugs with your players, the jumping around in the locker room, the celebrations. That's what we miss by not being in Clemson, right? That's what we want to see. We feel like we missed something. We want to see everybody having a good time, and we don't get to really do that. Even the week in between the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, you're just so busy. People don't realize we flew home, and I want to say we got home at some crazy hour, 3 a.m. We had to fly to Greenville and then drive home. And then we turned around, and 12 hours later, we were back at the Greenville airport flying out to LA. We kind of had the bad deal because we played Sunday, Thursday. And so we had this incredibly quick turnaround. And, a lot of people, we weren't even thinking hey, if we win, we just go on out to LA from here. We almost couldn't do that. We had different folks, and I know I'm kind of all over the place with this answer, but, it's funny, all the memories that are coming back to me, but we had this incredibly quick turnaround where everybody basically went home and did our laundry, right? Families do their laundry. The coaches are watching the film, and, we're trying to break Arizona down, and then you got to fly out and get your game plan. And then I know the question was what happened after Arizona. You win that game and you celebrate, do all the interviews and all those things. You take the bus back to the hotel, and we had a good turnout. We had great turnouts for us. We've got we have this core group of folks that have really supported our team, through most of my tenure here, people that have become really good friends that are, significant boosters that, have taken foreign trips with our teams, have gotten to know our players. And, a lot of them made the trip to Memphis and LA, and to go into the lobby of the hotel and to have the band playing and fans, all the families of the players, and then all these significant boosters there, just all celebrating and smiling, and to be able to just hug a bunch of different people and thank them for all their support over the years, and just, to see the joy in the families. I mean, I still remember seeing Brandy Hunter sitting in the back with, her grandson on her knee, Chase's, or granddaughter on knee, and, just smiling. And I said, boy, life doesn't get any better than this, right? And gave her a hug. And, just those kind of moments are incredible. And so you do all that, and then it's kind of like right to work. We took about an hour or so, and the players obviously shower and eat, and then we as a coaching staff, get on to the next prep, and you're just, you're up late. It helped that we had played Alabama before, so we had idea about personnel and all those kinds of things and style, and but you're just head down working, watching film, meeting with your team, going over personnel, going over their main actions, watching film, discussing a couple strategy things with your staff. We had shoot around the next day. You do all that very light, and then you're just kind of trying to, give this positive vision to your players that, that they can continue to do it. And, but here's what it's going to take. And, obviously, unfortunately we played pretty well, but we weren't quite able to finish the game.
So as you're up into the wee hours after the Arizona win, you're in a conference room, I presume. I presume there's lots of monitors and such where you're going over cut-ups and film. And can you paint that picture, what that looks like?
Yeah. We have a huge ballroom that obviously part of it is, tables where we eat. And then we have a big projector that we watch our film with the players. The coaches all kind of we watch most of our film on our laptops together, or, we'll clip up some things and show it that way with each other. Obviously, Coach Dolan and Coach Dixon have been in charge of the defense. Coach Dixon does a lot of the personnel. Coach Dolan does a lot of the, kind of their actions and offensive scheme and all that kind of stuff. And then Coach Bender and Coach Reynolds work on our offense. And so I meet with both groups, and like we do for every game, to discuss strategy and things that we think will be good, offensively that can work. And then how do we think they'll guard us? What are things we have to be, cognizant of? Are there any wrinkles that we want to add? Are there ways we can steal baskets like the Arizona game on some BOBs when we knew they were going to do 5-way switching? Is there, defensively, how did we play them last time? What do we need to change? Who's playing for them better? Have they changed anything stylistically? All that kind of stuff. And so we're just meeting and discussing all that. And then it's, as the head coach, you're also, you're constantly messaging your team. You're just, every time you're in front of them, you want it to be, what do they need to hear from me right now? Those are the questions you're asking yourself. And do they need confidence? Do they need, they need to be brought back down to earth? What do we need? And then how do you be as concise as you can in terms of putting a game plan together in a short amount of time that they can, that they can understand and still play free. And so you're trying to, manage all that. But at that point, obviously our guys were very confident and playing at a very high level. And so you're kind of you're having those different kinds of meetings throughout. And then obviously at the same time, you're grabbing players one-on-one and sitting with them, at different spots. Maybe you're sitting with a kid on a bus for 10 extra minutes talking to them, or maybe you go to a hotel room, and talk to a guy if you think he needs to hear something specific. Maybe he needs confidence, or, there's a specific message you want to have him, hear. So there's a lot of that going on during that time period as well.
When you're trying to, sustain the confidence that that obviously has been so productive during the tournament, while also being wary of overconfidence from, hey man, we played on these guys' floor in December and beat them pretty handily.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes I think media overblows.
No, we never overblow anything.
I'm just very real with our kids, and try to see it as much as I can through their eyes at two. I think that's one of the things as you become an older coach, it's easy to see things the way you want to see them, but how do they perceive things, right? And it's not hard to tell those guys, hey, we beat Alabama earlier, but like they're playing at an extremely high level. We just watched them beat North Carolina, the night before or whatever. And, they're playing great basketball. They've had a great season. It's that game was so long ago. Both teams have changed a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. And, so you have like, there's a respect level there because their players, how good Mark Sears is, how good Grant Nelson is. I mean, so our players certainly still have. I mean, there's just a ton of respect. There's just so many good. The parity in college basketball now is as much as it's ever been. It's probably that way in a lot of sports. There are more better athletes now, and that's part of why it's really hard to continue to be successful. Is everybody's pretty good, and so but you're just fine line of this is what we need to do to win the game, and keeping your guys on point with that. I am probably a little different than Dabo. I think sometimes some of the coaches it's hey, it's just about us. I believe that it's easier to be that way when you have the better players, right? When you have the better players, if you play a certain way, you're going to win every time. But, we have to adjust and prepare and make sure that we're trying to take things away from teams that have equal or better talent sometimes. And so you can't just, hey, we're going to just worry about us. No, we've got to scout and try to take things away. We have to be, we've got to surprise them sometimes with certain things or whatnot. If we just line up nose to nose, it's not going to be as easy for us to win. Now, last year's team was one of my more talented teams. And so when you are better like that, you can not just fixate on yourself, but, know that if your guys play at a really high level, that a lot of times you're going to have a great chance to win.
From a purely emotional human standpoint, as you're looking back, is there a tug between, gosh, that was such an amazing accomplishment and I'm so proud of my guys, between that and, damn it, we were so close? I mean,
yeah, 100%. And the second one hurts. And, it's crazy. I haven't watched the game yet. I haven't been able to watch it. And I don't want to watch it until I'll probably watch it this month. I've wanted to try to get as many of those feelings out of me as I can so that I'm watching it to learn and from a clear mind. And obviously I'm going to evaluate myself, be very critical of decisions I made within the game that, or didn't make that cost us. And, I got to figure that out. But yeah, I mean, I'm extremely happy for all that we accomplished, but yeah, in my mind, we had at least another step to go. And it's hard to get to that position where you get, one game away. And I've said publicly, the last several years that my goal is to get Clemson to the Final Four. And I think we can do that. And, I thought our Sweet 16 team in 18 had a real chance, especially if Dante doesn't get hurt. And obviously this year's team had a chance. from that standpoint, I failed.
Quick word about a really cool Clemson tailgating option for those of you who don't have regular parking spots. First-class valet service by the Abernathy Hotel, just a block from the Rock. Here's the deal. You drive up to the Abernathy, you and your friends get out of your car, somebody parks it for you, you go inside to the air-conditioned VIP hospitality suite that's loaded with food and drinks. You also get access to their private lounge and bar, food trucks, clean bathrooms, live music, vendors, VIP gift bags, and even a golf cart ride to the stadium. They've already seen a great response to this, so spots are limited. This is for all home games. Call 864-654-5299 or go to theabernathy.com to learn more. I was looking back at our sit-down last summer, and we were talking about the loss of Hunter Tyson and how it might take some time for the leadership and the sort of cohesion to really come together. But as it turned out, it didn't take very long. You guys were lights out early in the year. Can you maybe look back to that progression and maybe give your insight into how things came together? I guess more quickly than we were envisioning during our conversation last summer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just think the pieces fit really well. Joe was the perfect addition to Chase. An older, hungry, experienced player. And I emphasize hungry because Joe was very hungry. And our team was very hungry. So we had great workouts, the summer before. PJ was hungry. It's interesting. PJ played so much of his career hurt or coming off of injury that I don't, it's amazing to go back and look at like what could have been a little bit. Like it could have even been crazier how good that guy could have been. But my point to that was last summer he was healthy. And so, you could see it as our guys, the more time we spent together, the guys were really hungry and motivated. And, I was pretty demanding, because I knew they could take it, and I knew that they were highly motivated, and so things did just fit right. And then Jack Clark was a good addition in terms of defense and rebounding. He was the perfect addition that way to take over some of the things that Hunter did. Joe was obviously took a lot of the shooting from Brevin and Hunter, and then Chase was, taking another step as a player. PJ again. I mean, we had a good team, and we had pretty good depth. And then it's like it's momentum and confidence are just really powerful in sports. And I think kids these days are probably more fragile than ever. And so I think the positive momentum and negative momentum that comes from winning and losing and all that these guys deal with on social media, and it can spur you. And, it's and obviously that's part of what happened early in the season is we just started winning some games and gaining confidence. And, the win at Alabama was just so big from the standpoint of, man, if we can beat these guys in this environment, then who can't we beat, right? Like, we didn't play very well in Asheville. We were lucky to win the Asheville tournament. We had to Chase made a big play late against a very good UAB team, and we were down 18-2 to Davidson, had to come back and win. So there was some resiliency and experience that, most years you don't have a team that's good enough to come back like that or resilient enough maybe. And we did. But when we won at Alabama, that was kind of I feel like that just gave us a ton of confidence and probably helped us go to Pitt and win. I mean, and Pitt ended up being really good. We go to TCU, play TCU and in the neutral game, and we're undefeated and they're undefeated, and we're excited and they're excited. And it's, it was a fun trip, fun game. And so it just kind of all the momentum of it all just kind of kept things going. You know, we had no adversity. We lost to Memphis, but played pretty well. Ended up losing the game, and then, you know, obviously then, you know, January started and things didn't go as well.
There was a point, I think it was after the home loss to Virginia, where you told the team, hey, you know, you guys are acting like you're the 11-1 team, but I guess the record was 4-6 in the ACC. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were 4-6 in the ACC. And I said, you better get over that. Like, you go 4-6 again, you won't be playing any more basketball, and that'd be a shame because of all that you accomplished in November and December. And, you know, but then I think the other part of that story is, you know, basketball is such a long season that if, you know, you're going to have ups and downs. Every team is going to go through some ups and downs, no matter really how good you are in most cases, because the competition is good. And, you know, and that's kind of what happened to us in January. And, you know, felt like we had some bad luck, or we were snake bit, or didn't make a couple plays. Obviously we blew the Georgia Tech game at home. That's completely on me. And, you know, we lost the game at Duke, which, you know, was disappointing. So we knew we still had some good basketball in us. I just had to shake them up a little bit to, I don't know, urgency, but just like let them know that, like, you better get on with it quick, you know. And obviously it worked a little bit because we beat North Carolina at North Carolina and Syracuse at Syracuse, and had a great week and got ourselves going again. But again, basketball is hard that way. You know, and again, I don't think there's that much difference in the teams. And so we started to play better. We even lost some games at the end, but we were playing better. You know, we lost the game at home to NC State, which frustrating. I don't think we played great that day. But again, I remember saying to folks that, like, man, that's a good team. Like, our league is better. That I've been frustrated by that, because our league has been better than it's been perceived to be. We should be getting more teams in the tournament than we have. I mean, the 10th place team in the ACC made the Final Four. They were in the play-in game of the ACC tournament. They went to the Final Four, and we finished 6th or whatever it was this year, and we went to the Elite 8. So if that's a down year, down league, I don't know. That's where I get a little angry. I've been in this league long enough to know when our league is good, and, you know, obviously there are years it's been better, but some of that media again, Larry, you guys you're not helping us.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Part of it is if we're going back to the 4-6 record, part of it is conference is better than is perceived. Another part of it is your guys aren't showing the urgency you would like them to. And that really, not to draw this to football, because a lot of it's apples and oranges, but it reminds me of the 16 football season when they're sort of farting around during the regular season. They had been to the national title game the year before against Alabama, lost a narrow one, and it just felt like Dabo later said it felt like they just wanted to hit fast forward and get back to that game, and that's sort of the parallel I draw.
Unbelievable. That's a real thing. No matter how much you talk to your team about certain things, you know, once we went sideways in the ACC a little bit, and, you know, you kind of know, like, my goodness, like, we're not going to play for an ACC championship. Like, we're going to be out of it. Like, we've already kind of blown it, right? That's that was hard because the year before we played for we were playing in the last week of the season. We were playing for the ACC regular season title. Now we didn't get there, but we were, I think it was 15-5s and we were 14-6. I mean, you know what I mean? So then it's like the second or third week of January, you kind of know you're not playing for the regular season title. Like, yeah, your guys like Chase and PJ who, that was quietly probably a goal of ours. We kind of let that get away early. And then it's like, fast forward, let's get to the tournament. And that was kind of where my mindset was. That's why I was saying to them, hey, fellas, we're 4-6. There may be no tournament unless you wake up. We got to wake the hell up here a little bit. Like, come on with it. And so I think that message, and it's crazy, Larry. Like, that's what I say. You're constantly trying to message your team. I mean, the amount of time that you spend as a head coach thinking about how to message them, what to say to them, what do they need to hear, all the things that you're thinking about. You talk to your staff and go through it with your staff, on certain times. And then, it's crazy. I had individual meetings with our players that Sunday after Virginia. And I remember having a staff meeting before, and I wasn't very happy, and the staff could sense it. And we're sitting in there on Sunday morning and, my legs twitching and I'm probably a little hot under the collar and, upset with my team, my staff, myself, my players, everybody, and we got to get this fixed. We got to figure this out. And obviously I talked about the 4-6, but I said, I think I need to meet with every kid individually and give them here's where I think, number one, where do you think you are playing right now? Why are we struggling was kind of my second question. And then my third question was, how can I help you play better? And my tone with my staff when I was having the staff meeting was obviously pretty negative, probably, and aggressive. And I remember Sean Dixon, sometimes you ask as the head coach, you got a plan in your mind of what you want to do, but you're asking the staff, hey, what do you guys think? And I don't know, coach, then, guys, that's like our coach is going to step up and talk to you in a way where they're not a yes man, right? When the boss is angry and if you don't agree with what the boss is saying, will you step up and say something, right? Like, it's easy to say it when things are good. And I just remember Sean Dixon in the meeting saying, Coach, I know you want to do that, but do you think our players are ready to receive your message? And I just thought that was a very insightful question to me from an assistant coach. And it made me take a pause for a second and make sure that I told him, I said, well, I don't, my first answer I don't care what the hell they want to receive. I got some things I want to tell them. You know what I mean? Like, that, as a coach, you get upset, you want to go that way, but that's not, I wasn't, and I kind of had to remind Sean, hey, Sean, I'm probably not going to be this aggressive with our players, right? I'm trying to figure out how to help them be better, but they also need to hear some truth of, like, the urgency in this is, hey, we got to get this figured out. And I also want to meet with them one-on-one to see if there are some things that come out of the meeting, if players will say things to you that they don't want to say in front of their teammates, and so a lot of things happened in that Sunday. We had probably an hour and a half practice, 30-minute film session. And then I met with players for, 15 to 20 minutes, so that was a long day for me. But I think some good things came out of the meeting. I was able to convey some things individually to some of our leaders about things that they needed to be doing better. I was able to talk about things within their own individual games that I saw that, maybe needed to improve. And then I was also able to hear from my players, hey, here's what I think, and I remember Dylan Hunter saying in the meeting with me one-on-one, here's a guy that's, backup guard. And he says, Coach, we've just, we're too worried about, like, the big picture, like, and we're too who we play and what it means and all that. He goes, back when we were playing great in November and December, we didn't care about any of that. He goes, number one, I said, I know, probably at the beginning of the year, you just wanted to play because you're tired of practice and all the things, and you're tired of me battling them every day and just doing all the things you got to do to get ready for a season. And that just joy of playing, right? And then you start winning games, and it's just, hey, we can beat anybody. And it's, and then it's just human nature that you want to try to play for a league championship, and then you probably put pressure on yourself and you don't perform as well, and things start to get away a little bit. And so then you just got to kind of, center yourself. And so we talked about all that. I met with the team and shared Dylan's thought. I thought it was a really good one. And we talked about, hey, we've got to get back to playing free and playing with confidence. And we have a lot to play for. And, you guys have accomplished some really good things. And because you were 10-1 in the non-league, we're able to stub our toe and still be okay. We're fine. And, but we got to finish the season the right way. And thankfully the guys did a good job in February of playing better basketball, and we got some really good wins. And more importantly, we got back to feeling good about ourselves, and we didn't play great and we lost some games. But we got back to feeling a little bit better about ourselves and putting ourselves in a position to play for the tournament, which I think at the beginning of the year, that's kind of what it was. It was, is there a way we could win the ACC? And then let's get to the NCAA tournament. The part that I'm most upset about is the way we played in the ACC tournament. And to this day, I have no idea how that happened. I shouldn't say it like that. I do know what happened. We got punched in the mouth and we didn't respond. And, that was, I did a poor job after we got punched in the mouth. I could not, for whatever reason, get our guys to kind of snap out of it. And it surprised the hell out of all of us, I think. And that's probably why it happened.
You all had a lot of time to stew after that game, between that trip to DC and the selection show. You tore them a new one behind the scenes, and then publicly they're getting ripped up and down. Brad Brownell, get rid of him. What bothered y'all the most about the stuff that was being said? Was it just that a lot of people weren't giving y'all a chance to do anything?
What bothered me the most was the way we played in the ACC tournament. I told them that I was unbelievably embarrassed and disappointed in them. And, and I didn't understand it. And then we had a very difficult team meeting with just me and the players. I had none of the staff around. And we talked about a lot of different things and got some things out in the open that needed to be, talked about. And just one of the biggest things in my message was we cannot worry about what people are saying outside this locker room. And that includes our families. You can't be listening to your parents right now about what this, that, or the other. Like the negativity, you should be getting more shots. You should be playing more, this, that, or the other, all the things that come with it. That's what's going to take us down. And we've got, it might've been one of the best things to happen to us because we had plenty of time to kind of regroup, hash some things out, all get back on the same page. We had Saturday and Sunday. We practiced twice on Saturday, once on Sunday. We had the watch party together. It was kind of like, when we got to the watch party, it's just almost like a relief. All right, our name is called, right? We're on. There were guys on our team that were nervous we weren't going to get called because we were the last 16. I'm like, guys, we're fine. Relax. We're going to be in the tournament. You know what I mean? Go to the commercial break after the East, after the Midwest, after the South. And it's we're still not called. It's what happened? Are we going to get, feel like we're going to get screwed again or whatnot? And it's no, just, and then then it happens. Okay, we play New Mexico. Great. we don't know anything about New Mexico, right? And the crazy thing is the coaches just go right back to work. Like we just go into the game planning. But the players, right? I mean, they're watching all the ESPN shows and all that stuff, and so all they're hearing is how we're going to get upset. And so the next day, you obviously talk about that a little bit. Just like, hey, fellas, that's a good thing. That's, and I kept saying all week that this reminded me of 2018, and it was New Mexico State and Auburn, right? We played New Mexico State. Auburn played Charleston. So, I just felt it was New Mexico and Baylor Colgate. I just felt like, hey, it's going to be New Mexico and Baylor. And this just feels like 18 to me. We're going to be the underdog in both games. And I really felt like we can win both games. And if we play the way we're supposed to play, we'll win both games. And, just really confident. And I think our team understood that, fed off that. We talked about all the significant wins we had and winning at North Carolina, losing in the last second at Duke, beating TCU in a neutral, beating Alabama at Alabama. Like if we're good enough to do all those things, fellas, and I kept telling them, if you just win the first game, and the momentum starts, we can go to the Final Four, and I've been telling you that since the summer. And so I think that, the message like, oh, yeah, coach is just telling us that. Then all of a sudden you win the game and to win it the way we did, who knows? Maybe coach is right, and then all of a sudden you're playing Baylor and you're beating Baylor. And then see, I told you. And I'm like, hey, we can beat Arizona. Here's how we're going to do it, right? And so your kids feed off of all that. And so I do think there was something to the effect of getting to the tournament for some of the guys that hadn't gotten there. And even me, maybe as a coach, like wanting to get back because, hey, we have a good team. We know we get to the tournament, but we can go to the Final Four. Like, let's get to that. Let's get to those games. And so I don't know if subconsciously that, when we lost a couple games early, if that we lost our focus a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I do think our league was better than people realize. And winning in college basketball is still really hard. It is hard. Especially, in these big conferences.
So what was the most important thing that shifted you from your, I guess, anger and embarrassment after the BC game when you're having the meeting with just you and the players? What was the most important thing in converting that into actual confidence? Like, hey man, we just need to win one game. Like, was it just what you mentioned about actually just finally being there in the tournament, or?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of, just the edge that you needed, right? For whatever reason, we didn't have that edge. I think, it was a little, our team last year, when we got punched in the mouth, we didn't always handle that as well. We were fragile at times, more fragile than a good team should have been at times. Now, when we threw the first punch and we got it on you, it's like our confidence built and we could be really good, certain teams are just that way sometimes. I talked about it with our team sometimes, but we didn't always handle it well, and so I don't know. That's just sometimes every team has an identity of its own and a makeup of its own. And so, it was really easy to get the edge back after losing to Boston College. And then you have a couple of hard practices and you kind of get that out of the, those two on Saturday and that one on Sunday, you kind of get all that out and get that, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, you go back to the fundamentals, you do toughness drills, you get back after them a little bit. And then Sunday comes and now it's like, all right, well, because I kind of told them it's going to be really hard here for a day and a half. And then when we get to Sunday, Selection Sunday, we're gonna enjoy Selection Sunday, and we're gonna be extremely positive leading into the tournament, fellas. Like we're leaving the ACC tournament behind at Selection Sunday show. But I wanted them, like, I think what happens now is kids are very quick to move on from anything, wins or losses. The losses don't linger. And, I grew up where your coach made the loss linger. I mean, you heard about it the next day and the next day, and you watched it and this, that, and the other. And, heck, you got your nose rubbed in it, and you can't coach that way as much anymore, which is probably a good thing. But I also think kids have to be, reminded sometimes, and sometimes losses need to sting a little longer than they do, and it's a good thing. And so I had made a decision that we were going to make the BC loss was such that, we were going to make them think about it for 3 practices and remind them about it as coaches for 3 practices. But as soon as that last practice was over, like, all right, this is over now. Forget about it. We're putting that behind us. We've gotten better from it. We've learned from it. It's created an edge. And now let's use that as a way to build momentum for this tournament. And then when we got to Selection Sunday, that party was a celebration. It was a celebration of what they'd accomplished during the regular season. We hadn't done everything we wanted. We certainly didn't play well in our last game. We hope to do better. But we did have, I think it was 21 wins. We were clearly in the tournament. We're going to have a solid seed. And now let's go have fun. Like, let's let it all hang out. Let's play loose and free, confident. And I think one of the best things was we got somebody in New Mexico who was coming off. They just won the Mountain West tournament. And so they were probably feeling really good about themselves. And like, our guys were never fearful of anybody. PJ had played too many games, Chase, Joe, Jack. Like, it didn't matter who we played. We felt like we could play if we played well. And so I just had confidence knowing that I really just felt really good. I just felt like we were going to win the regional. I really did. Or the first, I thought we'd go to the Sweet 16. I really did.
Upstate foodies, want to take a moment to talk to you about our favorite taco spot, Willie Taco. 5 locations across the upstate. This award-winning team has been serving up fresh taco fusion for a solid decade now. The chefs at Willie Taco utilize the freshest, most creative, and sometimes unexpected ingredients in their kitchens. Come see why Southern Living, Garden and Gun, and Food and Wine Magazine are raving about Willie Taco and their signature offerings, such as their Southern Tide, Crispy Avocado, Nashville Hot Chicken Tacos, literally flavors you will not find anywhere else, folks. And don't forget about the cocktails. Super fresh margaritas, ice cold cerveza, and over 80 tequilas served up daily from behind the bar. So don't wait, folks. Your Willie Taco Familia is ready to serve you up their twist on funky, fresh fusion. It's the Willie way. Want to share a quick word about Founders Federal Credit Union? If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Its office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith and Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Transition to the present. You got everybody on campus now? All the newcomers?
Yeah.
This is a really bad question, but it's going back to what you said last summer, telling the team what you thought they were a Final Four team. My angle here is not to pin you down on what the expectations are for next year, but I'm just curious, like, you do have a pretty good, with the transfers and all that. I mean, it doesn't seem like to me there's going to be a a significant drop off just given the talent on hand. And again, this is kind of a bulky way of asking the question, but I'm just trying to get your sort of,
yes, I'm excited about next year's team. Obviously, having said that, the reality is PJ Hall isn't out there. Joe Girard's not out there. I'm not going to lie to you. And like I walk downstairs and look in my locker room and I don't see a picture of PJ Hall. I don't like that. I don't like that. I've had him in there for 4 years and 3 years as a stud. When you start every game with, a really good center who cares about the team and cares about his coach and wants to win for all the right reasons, man, that's a pretty good place to start. And then you throw in Joe Girard and, Chase Hunter and older guys and Ian Shefflin obviously. So that's, and then the year before it was Hunter Tyson, who, I think we all quietly thought we could have a good team that year. And you just have guys that are terrific. I think the challenge, PJ, one of the things that was a struggle for this year's team, and it'll be a struggle for next year's team, is there are not as many natural leaders, I don't think, out there. And PJ Hall trying to lead this team this year was not easy for him. It's funny. We do these personality tests with our players' profiles and really try to get to know these kids as best we can so that we can understand what makes them tick and try to use that as a better way to coach them and to reach them and to communicate with them and connect with them. And, one of the things I've learned in all of this, these last 4 or 5 years in doing this, is that, whatever your natural personality is, when you're then asked to do something else outside of your natural personality, it's really draining on you. And so a kid who's not an outgoing leader by trait, to get them to adapt to that can be very exhausting, emotionally. It takes a lot out of them. And that was kind of the case for PJ. And I think at times it wasn't easy for him to always play his best because he was so wrapped up in, our team and trying to help everybody, and he could lose focus. That wasn't one of his, best attributes, but he was such a caring person that emotionally when things didn't go well for us or we were struggling, it was hard on him. And, Hunter Tyson was not that way. Hunter Tyson was very direct and businesslike in terms of, not that he wasn't caring or any of that, he was, but he was much more of a, this is what we got to do. This is professional approach, business approach. This is how coach likes things. And he just he had such a presence that guys just fell in line, and he was, PJ was just a little different. And so Joe being new, I think it wasn't easy for Joe to always communicate that way. Chase is such a quiet guy that this is a long-winded, it feels like I've tangented, but what I've tangented to is that's one of the real concerns with next year's team is Chase Hunter and Ian Shefflin are both more lead by example, quiet. It's hard for them to kind of throw themselves out there as leaders. And so that's a real point of concern. It's crazy just seeing all the new players we have. We have 7 new players. We have more new players than returning players. If you count Jake Heidberger as a new player, we have 8 new players. And so there's a lot of turnover. It's funny. We've been talking as a staff that we're going to have to really do a lot of teaching, slow down and do a lot of teaching this off season, where we've been able to, I don't want to say skip steps. We've been able to go through things much quicker because we've had so many returning experienced players that that you can just kind of do that with. And it's easy for a Joe Girard to just kind of jump in when the group's doing this, and he's a good player and a knowledgeable guy and a confident guy. It's easy for him to just adjust, or Jack Clark. It's easy for those guys to adjust. This year's team, we got 3 freshmen on it. We've got some other new guys. Asa Thomas hasn't really played. He redshirted. I mean, that's another new guy. I mean, it's so there's some things we've got to work through as a team. But do I like my team? I like my team. I like where we are, but it's very, very early in the process. So I still see the hurdles and challenges that are there as well.
Yeah, a year ago at this time, you were, like, as we were just talking about, you were looking at the hurdles and challenges in terms of leadership in the wake of Hunter Tyson leaving. And yet, when we looked out on the floor so often last season, we saw a bunch of warriors. I guess there's maybe a separation between warriors and leaders, and I'm not trying to get too in the weeds of it here, but I guess the question would be, as you look at your roster now, how many warriors do you see?
Yeah, I don't know that I would claim us to be warriors, to be honest with you. Because I kind of talked about it. I don't think we were like Joe Girard was a phenomenal player. I mean, man, he could really shoot it, smart, poised, but he wasn't a warrior. Like, he's not a physically imposing player.
I guess I mean not necessarily purely physically imposing, but unafraid, I guess, is what I put in there too.
Yes. I think the unafraid part, like the that's, one of the things I remember telling you, like one of the reasons we went and got Joe Girard was like, with Chase, we knew we needed another guy, Chase needed another guy with him to help take some of the pressure off at times in terms of making big shots, or just always believing, hey man, we're going to win. Like, no matter where we go, we're going to win. Like, we got Chase Hunter, we got PJ Hall, we got Joe Girard. We got 3 guys that we can go anywhere and win. These guys are not going to be afraid. They're experienced. They've all done it. They've all made big plays, and if all 3 of them play good on the same day, which is hard for all 3 of them to always play good, we're going to be hard to beat. If 2 of them play good, we're going to still be pretty good, and so, I don't know yet with this year's team where that is. It's way too early to prognosticate any of those things. I don't know if we have, 3 headline guys like that. We probably don't. What I'm hopeful of is that we're going to be able to play 10 deep, and wear some teams down and have depth, and maybe play a couple different ways if we need to, if I think that helps us. Because we've got a lot of guys that they're going to need to gain confidence. They haven't been the guy. There's a lot that comes with that. That's not easy. And, really losing Chase or losing Joe and PJ, you're losing 2 guys that have kind of been the guy and have had pressure. And Chase has kind of been that way a little bit. So, whether Victor can be a guy like that, can Ian be a guy like that? Chase needs to be a guy like that. Can those 3 guys do it? Can Jaden Zachary be a guy like that? Is Chauncey Wiggins ready to take another big step? I think he is. I think all those guys have potential to be, really good ACC players. But they haven't really, haven't done it consistently on a high-level team in the league. Chase and Ian have a little bit. So, that's what's great about sports is they're going to get the opportunity, right? And it's their turn, and it's Chauncey Wiggins' turn, and that's what you encourage them, and you get them ready, and you give them confidence, and you build them up, and you make them better, and you tell them it's your turn and you can do this. And that's what we're going to try to do this summer. And then within that, we've got to figure out the best way to play to help them. And then I've got to get our guys, our other guy, whoever that Dylan and Jake Heidbritter and Asa and Miles and Christian and, our freshmen. You got to kind of see what those guys can do. And that part's fun as a coach.
What is the outlook right now for Jake in your mind?
I think he's going to be a good player. Kind of an unassuming guy that just very, very mature. Is highly motivated because he didn't get to play last year. A mature approach by him. I was shocked when Coach Bender came to me last year and said, this kid wants to sit out. And I'm like, there's no way. Like, why? And he said, Coach, he weighs 173 pounds. He's been at the Air Force for 2 years. I mean, the kid, I don't know if he gets 3 square meals. Like, he knows that he needs to gain weight. He knows that he wants to get better. He knows that getting in this level, he's going to, be with a high level strength coach. He's, he just wants to work. He's a worker coach, and I'm like, this is crazy. Nobody's like this. You know what I mean? Kids aren't like, they all want to play right now and they want to play all the time. And he's obviously a proven player. And so I say all that to say that's why he's mature. He's motivated, and I think he was really happy for our team, but he also, is now he knows it's his turn to get out there and really make some things happen. And I think he's a kind of a quiet, confident guy. And, I think it's a real advantage that we had him around last year so that he knows how we do things, because I am nervous about having so many new guys. Like, it's a little unsettling. We haven't been in that spot for a couple years. And that just, as a coach, we're going to have to spend a lot more time and be slower doing things. And he'll help us keep it moving.
Is Jake fully healthy now? And what's his weight at around now?
I think he's about 187, 188. He's fully healthy. He's been healthy most of the year. He shoots it well, moves great without the ball, great cutter. Great kid, man, incredibly smart. He's like Hunter Tyson that way. Those guys, 3.8, 3.9 GPAs, and he's taking classes that you and I didn't take in college, Larry.
How did you know? You know me really well.
I don't want to sit in his classes. I'll tell you that.
So not journalism.
No, or history.
How about Asa? He had shoulder surgery, correct, during the season?
Yep. He did. He got hurt. I think we had surgery and thought it was January. Now, he's not 100% yet. He's probably 90. He is shooting the ball. He's starting to do some individual stuff, non-contact. I think he's 3 weeks away from being released to go full go. He's another guy that has some confidence to him. Good size, 6'6", 6'7", handles the ball pretty well for his size, can make a three, moves well. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, one of the best things is he's a freshman, right? He's a redshirt freshman now. So he got to be around last year's team. He got to see what it's like, what winning is like. He got to learn about the league, got to learn about the level. It's a little disappointing that he was hurt. So he really, the last half of the season, he really couldn't do much. But he's a smart kid. I like him.
And I guess you haven't y'all just announced the Miles Foster edition officially today, so I guess you haven't been asked about him publicly yet.
Yeah, Miles, big-bodied. He's probably only about 6'6", really, but he's got long arms. He really good feel for kind of getting the ball in the basket. Good rebounder, competitive guy, older guy. I think he's excited to be at this level. He's one of those guys that undersized post player that it's funny. You play those guys in those non-conference games, and it's like this son of a gun just keeps scoring. Like we have to double him. You know what I mean? Like if we double him, now these guys on the perimeter are gonna make threes, and we can lose. And I say that but he's not gonna wow you with. You're not gonna look and see a 6'8", 240 pounder that's playing with his elbows on the rim. He's kind of a undersized post that is one of those tough matchups at times for people. Hungry, I think, to be at the level, excited to be at the level. He's worked his way here from, playing at Monmouth and Illinois State. And, certainly will give us added depth in the front court that we're going to need, obviously, with the loss of RJ.
You talked about how good Gerard was for Chase last year. I assume that Zachary brings the same sort of dynamic.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that's something it's kind of like have really respected Zachary's competitive spirit. Like when you play against players, it's interesting your take on them, and then sometimes you get them and you don't know what you got, right? Or you have this take of a guy, and sometimes you talk to the other staff, and he's really not like that. He's not that tough a guy or whatnot, or he's not that, he has a hard time remembering things. What I mean? Like coaches grumble about their guys sometimes, but it's interesting. So like it was kind of like with Gerard, you just saw this guy with swagger and shooting and confidence and shot making, and he's playing at Syracuse, this big program, and playing in front of 20,000 people every night, and so we kind of knew, right? Jaden Zachary, we've played against him a bunch, and it's he whipped our ass the last time we played. And it's funny because he's like, he's a 6'2.5" guard. It's really big and strong and physical and tough, but he doesn't wow you with his athleticism, but he's got a great competitive spirit about him. He seems to make winning plays. He plays on both ends, like he defends, and he's a little different than Jake. Jake is more of a runaround shooter. Jaden is kind of a combo guard that can play some point. He can play some two. He's just a guard. He's kind of an old school guard. And Chase is a little bit that way. Play both positions. And so we just thought between the three of them, that would be good. You got Dylan in there too. We could play three guards with Jake and Zachary and Chase or Dylan or some. I mean, we can just having some options. We felt like that would be good. And we definitely wanted one more older player on the perimeter. And obviously Jaden, having been through the league and the wars of the league, I just think that's proven to be good for us with Jack and certainly Joe.
Most coaches are hesitant to comment on incoming freshmen until they've actually seen them.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that that's the case with Dallas and Dell and Ace.
Yeah.
Do you have a sort of a surface level evaluation, sort of assessment of those three guys?
Obviously we like all three kids. Dell is really explosive athletically, completely inexperienced. Dallas is very skilled for his size, but very weak right now for a freshman. Ace is kind of a combo guard that just is a good basketball player, obviously comes from great genes and knows how to play. And I just, I think he's just going to be a good player. I think it's hard. If you have a good team, it's hard for freshmen to play unless they're top 40 or 50 freshmen in the country. It's just hard. You're playing against older guys that have been through the wars. So those guys, in my opinion, are probably, unless how they somehow surprise me, they're going to have to wait their turn and learn the ropes and battle and but who knows? We'll see. It's going to be fun. It's just fun to have new blood around sometimes and get some enthusiasm and excitement. Last year's team was really different with Asa being our only freshman. This year we have so many more new guys, and really Christian Reeves is kind of an inexperienced young guy that has been hurt a lot, and so we've got to be really patient with him and support him in his kind of development here these next several months to get him in a position where he can hopefully be a good contributor on this team.
Okay, like we said, great stuff there. And also, like we said, we got a whole other part 2, coming next week. So certainly stay tuned for that. Appreciate the time, of course, given to us by Brad Brownell earlier this summer. Thanks to our very loyal sponsors for continuing to help make this happen. And, of course, great thanks to every single one of you for listening. Really appreciate it. Cheers.